Welcome back to another action-packed episode of the Daily Podcast Kung Fu, brought to you by the Villains Man, where myself, Justin Raymer, traverses the world of Marvel's most prolific martial artist in Iron Fist, Shang-Chi and the White Tiger. If you want to keep up with the podcast, you can do so on social media platforms, Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. And if you want to keep up with myself, Justin Raymer, and all the California cannibal content that I should have on my personal profile in 2026, please do so over on Twitter, X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Now, if you want to keep up with my TTRPG podcast, The Last Tavern on the Left, you can do so wherever you listen to Deadly Kung Fu Pod, or follow the podcast wherever you also follow Deadly Kung Fu Pod. I would tell you what the guys got going on. They're trying to power up a Green Lantern ring because Kratos, the Blue Lantern, Hellboy, the Indigo Tribe Lantern, and Invincible, the Star Sapphire, he likes the pink because it's his girlfriend's color of her suit, are heading towards Oa, and a mysterious white asteroid is heading from the opposite direction. The guys are freaking out because they don't know what's going to happen, and they don't want to fight three lanterns at one time. So it's been a good time. Guys had a blast. I love what's about to happen after this. So please subscribe and listen to the Last Tavern on the Left podcast. So today we are wrapping up 2025 with wrapping up the finale of Undead Iron Fist with issue 4. So if you have listened to the podcast in 2025, thank you if you've jumped on board. I think I posted somewhere around 64, 65 episodes this year, including this one. And I missed a couple weeks here and there. So I know, especially this month after Thanksgiving. But there's more than enough episodes to go around, so thank you. The podcast has grown quite a bit, as I mentioned in the last episode this year. Mainly because I did new issues as they come out this year, featuring Iron Fist and Shang-Chi. Not a lot there, but if I go back and I listen to those, like my listens to those are really, really high, more than any of the Bronze Age stuff for Iron Fist, Shang-Chi, the White Tiger. So that kind of tells me that I'm on the right path there. And I'm talking like these Undead Iron Fist episodes are clearing any other new content by like 40 listens or more. And that's just a minimum that I can think of. Number one's really up there. I think it's already in my top 10 episodes of all time. And I've been doing this, I think I'm almost at 160 episodes, somewhere around there. So if you are listening, I appreciate it. As for 2026, I hope you all have a great year. The 2026 has to be better than 2025 for me, dealing with house contractors. My wife's car I got put in the shop yesterday. It's going to cost me $1,100. That sucks. That's not a way to end a year. Both my kids currently have RSV, and my wife has the flu and an ear infection right now. So not the greatest way to end the year. As for this issue, is it a great way to end the year? We'll dive into that soon. One thing I do want to mention, and I started this campaign back in the summer, is that you needed to write Marvel heroes at Marvel.com and talk about this book and how hyped you were for it. Because I said something to Jason about like a letters page, and he said that he wanted it, so I started this campaign in the summer, like, hey, you need to email Marvel at this email address. I think it's mheroes@marvel.com. And, tell them how excited you are for the Undead Iron Fist when it was announced and all that. And, well, it paid off because here in issue 4, we get the Undead letterbox. And yours truly here had something published. Mine says, Dear Jason, Fran, and Jim, thank you for giving us Iron Fist fans a fast-paced and hard-hitting return for Danny Rand. When it was touted as being akin to the Raid, that was not a lie. I expected the return of Orson Randall, given the idea of our beloved hero being in hell to learn of the lies behind the mantle, but I did not expect a surprise appearance by Miles Morales. As you can tell, I wrote this after issue 1. Thank you for keeping that a secret before the release. There are so many questions I have, but I expect none of them to be answered in this column, and I look forward to them being revealed as the mystery unravels. Best regards, Justin Raymer. So, yeah. Does this mean I published? I've wrote some in the past, and I've never bothered to check. I know when the last bit of Shang-Chi's content was coming out, when Yang was writing it, I had wrote them, and I never bothered to check if I had it in the book. So maybe I need to dig those issues out and check them out. Omar from the I Am Iron Fist blog, who is my guest host for issue 1 of this series, got his published as well. So congratulations to Omar. He had actually posted about it this morning because we're recording here on the 31st of December, 2025. He actually posted it, and I didn't even see it. I just immediately started posting it everywhere and seeing that he had tagged me. So I appreciate that, Omar. But as I said, this was not the first time that I wrote them. When it was announced and I'd talked to Jason Lowe and, mentioned it, I immediately started posting it. The first thing I wrote was, "Dear Marvel, myself and fans across the world are stupid excited that Danny Rand will rise from the dead and discover the truth about the mantle of the Iron Fist. After Jason Lowe's Werewolf by Night Red Band series, I think he's perfect to interject horror elements into the mystical aspects of Kung Lung and Iron Fist. Frangaland, or Galactus as I like to call him, preview page that was shared recently proves he's the right choice for the series. As a longtime fan of the character, I'm hoping we learn that immortality comes with the price of undeath and Danny is not the first to rise from the grave. Can't wait to see what his creative team delivers." Obviously, for good reasons, they didn't print that. So, still, I got published in an Iron Fist comic. That makes my day. That makes me pretty excited. But now that I'm going to start just publishing my own comic books, maybe one day I'll get the chance to write for Iron Fist or Shang-Chi, because I do have ideas. But with that being said, let's go ahead and start diving into this issue. Undead Iron Fist number 4 was released today, the day this episode drops, on December 31st, 2025, with 9 other titles from Marvel Comics. They are Marvel Knights of the World to Come, Volume 1, Number 5, Marvel Zombies, Red Band, Volume 1, Number 4, Predator Kills the Marvel Universe, Volume 1, Number 5, Punisher Red Band, Volume 1, Number 4, Sorcerer Supreme, Volume 1, Number 1, so much for Shang-Chi being the Sorcerer Supreme, Star Wars, Boba Fett, Black, White, and Red, Volume 1, Number 4, Ultimate Endgame, Volume 1, Number 1, Ultimates, Volume 3, Number 19, and X-Men Age of Revelation Finale, Volume 1, Number 1. I've waited for that so I can read it before I do X-Avengers featuring Shang-Chi, which should be next week's episode, because I want to make sure that none of those guys from that book are in there. Well, I shouldn't say none of the guys, Shang-Chi in particular. The title of this issue is called Hell in Harlem, and your creative team is the exact same that we've had from the entire run. Jason as your writer, Fran on inks and pencils, Jim as your colorist, Travis on your letters, and Danny as your editor. The cover by Portacio and Sinclair, they've done all the main covers for the book, is a really good amalgamation of all of Danny's outfits wrapped into one, except for what we currently have now. I love it. I think it's great. But the second cover, we see classic Danny Rand squaring off against undead Danny Rand. And we have an orange dragon and a purple dragon, like they're made of cheese, circling the battle. Very reminiscent of the Power Man Timeless number 4 cover from earlier this year, where we had the Void Power Man versus Timeless Power Man. I love this cover. Glad it's a variant, because it's a misleading cover, as we're about to find out. But I'm glad that we got this cover, because I want to take those variants, or I should say not the variant. 4 is not a variant for Power Man, but like frame them side by side, because I think they would look so cool. Oddly enough, unlike issue 1 and 2, 3 had one variant cover, as does 4, so I'm not going to complain about that, because it's easier on the pocketbook. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into this story. The Undead Iron Fist stands outside Rancorp, confronted by possessed Luke Cage and the rest of the police force. Not wanting to fight Luke, Danny goes to exorcise the policeman while avoiding fighting his best friend. Fearing that he could kill Luke with his newfound power, he takes out the rest of the police and heads into the Rancorp building. The Chilean-possessed Luke Cage gives chase, only to find himself ambushed by Danny Rand. The two square off, and though Danny has the upper hand, Luke's strength proves too much for him. In the underworld, Orson Randall and Osiris watch on with doubt that Danny can succeed in his mission. Danny wakes up to a slap in his face to find Quan Yaozu and the Chi Lin hovering over him. nearby, a glowing portal opens to the 8th city. Danny informs Quan that he knows of his plans and what he's been using the Iron Fist for. Believing he has upper hand, Quan tells Danny the truth of why he became the Iron Fist and his plot to take over Kunlun in the 8th city. Little did he know, Danny getting caught was a ruse so he can make his way to Quan. Taking out the Chi Lin, he summons his newfound power. That from the heavenly dragon, Tian Long, who guards the 8th city. Unleashing the power of the dragon, Quan Yaozu and the Chi Lin are no match for Danny Rand. Using the power of the dragon to free his best friend Luke, Danny uses his ultimate attack, Osiris's Fury, and takes out Quan Yaozu. As he flies through the penthouse of the Rand Court building, the energy of the dragon swoops below and catches him as he falls to the street below. Outside of Rand Court, Luke starts to stir, unsure of what has happened, as Daredevil runs into the building screaming that Danny has to be stopped. To both of their surprise, Danny, Quan, and the Chi Lin are nowhere to be found. The next day, Luke has Danny's grave fixed. But as he stares in silence, he wonders where his best friends went off to. Meanwhile, in the underworld, Danny and Tian Long sit on a cliff, earning some much-deserved rest as they stare off into the Egyptian underworld. So I did that page by page. Hopefully that sounds good. I guess maybe you'll never know, because editing will fix it. But let's go ahead and dive into some thoughts and some dissection of this issue, because there is a lot to talk about. I really enjoyed this story. Just want to say that. I enjoyed the story, what Jason Lowe was bringing to us with Iron Fist. Now, I started to feel a little disconnect in issue 3, and there is more disconnect here in issue 4, and we'll get to that. But saying that, though, there's a lot of good stuff about this issue, and there is some stuff that's kind of wonky. So, I was right. Danny was not going to make it out of this alive. I thought that before we knew the whole banner thing. Everything else, I was kind of off on. I thought maybe the Chi Lin would be like an agent of Chi Yu. Turns out it's one of Quan Yaozu. Not a bad thing. But there was no ties to this to Lin Li or Lin Fong and the invasion of Kunlun that's currently taking place or happened, the occupation of Kunlun, I guess. And none of that's mentioned, and I thought it would be, so. But let's talk about this fight with Luke Cage. So on page 1, the dialogue says, as in referring to Danny and Luke, "You both traveled the ends of the world to live your brand of justice. Now, Luke stands in your way, possessed by the very demon that executed you, the Chi Lin, or Wraithlins, as they prefer to be called themselves. They will always be dogs of Quan Yaozu." So, this Chi Lin is the one that possessed Razor Fist, the one that had hunted Danny down in the Mortal Iron Fist story back in Immortal Iron Fist. Looks nothing like that. That one was green, even with Razor Fist. In the 50th anniversary episode, he was green. Here it is red. It has hair. They look nothing similar, so I was kind of confused about that. But Danny immediately goes into taking the cops. He's avoiding Luke all he can, and Luke kicks him into a police car, which knocks the police car over. So we're already seeing right here that we've seen all these new powers that Danny has as a Ghost Fist. But, like, we're seeing increased strength, increased durability. I mean, Luke is no joke. Luke is a guy that can fight powerhouses like the Thing and the Hulk and the Juggernaut. And Danny is taking blows from him. And you know that the Chi Lin is not holding back, because it even says that Luke is trapped in the recesses of his mind and has no power. So he is fully using all of Luke's abilities against Danny. And that just shows you how much more powerful Danny is becoming. So he dodges an attack by Luke and starts to attack him. And there's some interesting dialogue here. "You know you must strike hardest with your sharpest attacks. Break through the tough exterior of your powerful friend to expel the Wraithlin within. But you pull back. too afraid that your blows may leave a crack so severe that it could paralyze him. So, in this context, which is from Osiris, it's assuming that his strikes alone are enough to break Luke's unbreakable skin, which we know can only be broken by a highly powered laser or a adamantium scalpel, as we see when Luke was like kind of having a heart attack during New Avengers, during Dark Reign and whatnot. So, or is it maybe that he's afraid of his power hurting Luke during the possession? I don't think that's the case. I literally think what it says is like his strength. He's worried about his strength. And if that's the case, I mean, does this make him a powerhouse in his own right? I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, it seems like just by that dog, that Danny's strength and durability is just ungodly. And in issue 1, I thought maybe he had teleported. But, and Omar had said that, oh, he is that fast. But I was like, yeah, but look how fast he is, So maybe he is now that fast that he could kick somebody and run the other way like the Flash and catch them. These police, they think they get the drop on Danny, and like he is just no match. These police finally dogpile Danny because he hesitates, and doesn't matter. He starts possessing them, knowing that he does not want to hurt Luke. He does bait Luke into the Rancourt building, which is pretty interesting, and he gets the jump on him and slugs him with his chi. And I don't know if this is meant to exercise Luke, but it does not do the job. I don't know if it's because this Qilin isn't the Qilin, and he might be the most powerful of them. But the only part of the art I thought was bad in this book is just Punch right here. Just the design of the arm and the pit. I don't know if it's just the colors that throw it off, but from the forearm to the fist does not match up. But still, everything else, like Luke's angry face where he says weak fist, man, that's terror. But anyways, I love that Danny plays Possum here. So he can get the Quan Chi. It makes a lot of sense because I was real concerned about the page count here. Telling a story because I talked about this on Twitter. Me and Omar had went back because I found out this book was 23 pages and a lot of this book has been taken up with this Luke Cage fight. So it makes sense that Danny would play Possum to save some of his power just to go after Quan. My favorite thing about this issue is the new dragon. Even though it's T''AN long, I'm assuming it is Tian long, which by what I understand in Chinese means heavenly dragon. It is also one of the stars in Chinese astrology. By what I understand in constellation, it is fixated above the North Pole. I'm going to read some stuff here. Tianlong's heavenly dragon seat/constellation is a Chinese translation of Draco, from Latin meaning dragon, a constellation near the North Celestial Pole. The Bin Kao Guangmu Pharmacopoeia entry for Long Dragon describes a pearl under its chin, and the notes read, the constellation Draco has the appearance of guarding and encircling the northern pole, which is the center of the movement of the fixed stars. The Chinese painting of the dragon straining after a mystical pearl undoubtedly relates to this relationship to the North Pole star, though other explanations are given for this. So, pearl kind of would explain maybe the color of the dragon. Some of the pictures I've seen, some of the dragons, the Tian Long are white, but maybe that's where Jason Lowe had got that from. I'm not really sure, but still, I think that's pretty cool. So let's dive into this dragon, because that was our big thing. The dragon's on the cover. What does it mean? What is it? And it's been saved here for the last issue. So Danny is about to square off. He's summoning his chi. I stumbled upon her during my climb in the underworld. We see a flashback to where he's trying to calming the dragon, very Owen and Blue from Jurassic World. And then we get this great splash page for the most part. And it's him, and Quan is on his knees like in fear. And we see the dragon standing over Danny, and he's got his chi all up on his golden Osiris arm. Tian Long, the heavenly dragon who guards the gates of the 7 cities, who also keeps evil from escaping the 8th city. You and your Qilin butchered her and cast away her spirit to cross into this realm. I too made a promise. I would get us out of the underworld so she can be avenged through me. So, we were all kind of like, man, he's Osiris's champion. He's not really an Iron Fist anymore. He kind of is. The chi of a dragon. I'm going to assume the chi, part of his energy has to be from this dragon, the way that he's using it in this fight that we're about to talk about. And part of him is empowered by Osiris. And if that's the case, I'm cool with that. I think that is pretty neat. Very D&D-ish to me. But, Quan is no match. I love that every time Danny throws a punch, like the dragon is following the flow to whatever enemy he's hitting. And I think that is really, really cool. And it's the dragon is what it takes to break the possession of Luke, which is kind of weird because when Danny is brought to Quan by Luke, when we first see them all together, Luke isn't there. The Chi-Lin's there, which is strange. There's no Luke. That's just the Chi-Lin, Quan, and Danny. Then when this fight happens, we see him attack the Chi-Lin, but when he turns around, it's Luke, and the dragon goes through Luke and pushes the Chi-Lin out. Very confused. Also, this Chi-Lin doesn't have any hair, but page 1 he does have hair. Very confused with that. So, in the penthouse, Luke is the Chi-Lin. There's no Luke, it's just the Chi-Lin, but then Luke's there all of a sudden. I was very confused by all of that. But still, we get almost an entire splash page of Danny's Osiris Fury as he throws this punch, and he's got the energy of the dragon coming with him as he lays out Quan Yaozu and basically wins the day. So he gets launched out the window, the dragon goes after him, splat, he hits the floor, and then he screams as the dragon bites him. So is he that powerful that he could survive a fall from the penthouse of the Rancourt? Because in the last couple issues, we've seen how high it is up there by him watching everything. So is he just that powerful? And considering how powerful Danny seems to be based on some of the dialogue in this book, maybe he is. So my question here is when Tien Long bites him and he screams, it almost seems like they go back to the underworld by the coloring of the page and some of the, it looks almost like a building there underneath the panels on the left. So it almost looks like they're back in the underworld. And I wish we would have got to see his imprisonment or maybe his essence being erased from existence after this, just to give us some explanation more of what's happening there. Because as me and Omar from I Am Iron Fist blog was talking, we feel this is going to be rushed, and it feels very rushed. And some of that, I'm not going to say that's why what I'm about to get into is the way it is, but this is where things get wonky and take me out of the book somewhat. So, we learned the truth of the mantle of the Iron Fist from Quan Yaozu. It's great. I love the idea behind it, but some of the explanation here makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Danny says, all this, the teachings of the Iron Fist, it was all to your benefit. We were just seeds sowed, mature into ripen fruit at the age of 33, only to be picked off by your hounds, your Chi-Lin. Quan says, and I fed off every drop of Shao-Lao's undying nectar. Beautiful agony, Danny Rand. So when we get this really beautiful splash page of Quan explaining everything to Danny. Now, I'm going to go through what he says to Danny and kind of break some of this down. So, I was a Thunder's humble student when I rescued an oracle from the Hiltheri raid. I thought she was mad when she foretold that I'd become the greatest Iron Fist with the inevitable price of abandonment by my own city of Kunlun. So, this whole thing, this page should have been a couple of pages. The first issue was 25 pages, the other ones were 20, this one is 23. I wish he would have got those 2 pages, or maybe even 30 pages, because I think 30 pages would have saved some of this, and maybe there'd been a little bit more explanation from Jason to this, instead of maybe editing, chop some of it up. Maybe that's why it comes out wrong, I don't know. But, so, because there's a lot of context, you have to take some of this in, and it's pretty vital, what's being said here. So, the Oracle foretold that he'd become the greatest Iron Fist But there is only one Iron Fist before Quan, which is Fan Fei, which I've talked about here on the podcast. Go check out the Book of the Iron Fist Quan Yaozu story. Clearly, I might need to add some of this to that episode. So, which I'm assuming she was kept a secret. I always have. Because she is exiled for killing Xiao the Undying. And then 10 years later, when she's allowed to come back in, she does self-exile. She wants nothing to do. She turns down the Thunderer's invitation to come back. So I'm assuming that she's been kept a secret. Now, in regards to Quan Yaozu's story, regardless if you go with the Chang Ming's tale in Immortal Iron Fist 23, or if you go with Shu Ho's tale in Volume 5, Number 5 of Iron Fist, I'm assuming that the Oracle told him when she was saved, and it was only kept to himself. Like maybe he picked her up to save her, and she's like, "You're going to be the greatest Iron Fist, and the city is going to abandon you for it." And because of this, he had to immediately start plotting against Kunlun. Like immediately, before he was even the Iron Fist. So let's move on. When I slayed Xiao the Undying, I knew this power would prove vital in outliving my former masters. What about the Tree of Immortality? Speaking of, the tree doesn't exist anymore, and we're going back to Kunlun in 2 months, maybe? So, I mean, the tree makes everybody immortal. I don't know why you would need just the chi of a dragon to stay just immortal. I get that it's empowering him, and we've learned that. But that kind of... why would you outlive them when there's a tree of immortality there? You know what I mean? So let's move on. So I offered the Book of the Iron Fist, binded in Xiao scales, which is cool, and enriched by my own blood and chi, as a guise to share secret knowledge with my successors. In turn, I fled on their recorded fears and weaknesses. So for one, how did he know he was going to have successors? I mean, if he doesn't know anything about Fan Fei, because he keeps saying the greatest Iron Fist, but at the time he was the first Iron Fist. So how would he even know there'd be successors? Did he plot this once he was in the 8th city? That doesn't make any sense, because he clearly made the book after he killed Xiao because it's made of its scales, right? So, if there's only one Book of the Iron Fist, how could he keep up with what's written in it? This leads me to believe that Quan learned dark magic. We'll talk more about that later. But, I mean, how else could he create this book? The bigger question is, how does he keep up with what was written in its pages when we've had, what? Orson tells him, Danny, there's 66, so 65 Iron Fist after him. That would be the end with Danny. Because Pei didn't have the book, and we know Lin Li didn't have the book. So how did he know what they were writing? It was just dark magics where he could just read the book from wherever? Did he have like a duplicate of the book, but we don't learn there's a duplicate of the book? So how did he keep up with that? It's got to be dark magic, right? Let's move on. As an immortal weapon, my task to drive those deemed evil into the 8th city would become a long, grueling recruitment drive. Man, this is where it gets really messed up. So this makes the 8th city storyline, Escape the 8th city, no sense. Makes no sense at all. Why would Quan sacrifice himself to close the gates of hell, the 8th city, and go through centuries of torture if this was his plan all along? That makes no sense. This bit throws that whole story out the window. Absolutely makes no sense. Now, what would have made more sense, based on what he says here, is when Chang Ming unleashed the demons and unleashed Xiao the Undying, if Quan knew that the city was going to abandon him and turn against him after he became the Iron Fist, why would he just not join Chang Ming then? Like I said, that whole part throws that whole story out the window. It absolutely makes no sense. Like, if you had plans before you became the Iron Fist to overthrow the city, why would you suffer like that? Why would you not go into the 8th city and join Chang Ming then? And just kill the immortal weapons, the only things that could stand in your way. Why not do it then? Like, this absolutely makes no sense whatsoever. And, man, I hate it. because the 8th City is such a great storyline. And this is just, I don't know if this is editing, I don't know if this is how Jason Lowe wanted to write it, but it absolutely makes no sense compared to that story. And if it does, I need somebody to explain it to me, because it doesn't to me. So let's move on. The Qilin, my loyal assassins, able to traverse across the realms, have kept me stronger with each Iron Fist's passing. Kept him stronger. Maybe that's where this whole false death god from issue 3 comes from, that Orson. That Osiris and Orson, man, 2 names, people that are sitting together can get mixed up pretty easy. So I guess maybe gathering all this chi is why he's considered a death god. I don't know. But if that's the case, if he is a death god, if he's that powerful, that even says more to how powerful Danny has become with the blessings of Osiris and the chi of Tien Long, if that's the case. And let's get to the last part here. You may have thought you set things right by returning me to Kunlun. That is the only line in all of this that makes any sense. Danny thought he was doing the right thing based on that story when he saved Quan Yaozu, who was actually cheated and could have been saved and all this other stuff. It is the only line that makes any sense here. Now the rest of it. But my grudge runs too deep and bitter. You set me free upon the world. So, why would there be a grudge if Quan plotted against Kunlun before he became Iron Fist? If he feared what the Oracle foretold before he became Iron Fist, why not just continue not to go down that path? Why continue the teachings of the Thunderer? Why? I don't understand that. Like, the grudge part would make a ton of sense if we did not wash everything away with the long, grueling recruitment drive. That washes away all of that. Like, the whole half of this, if becoming the Iron Fist, or the greatest Iron Fist, being foretold and all that, you could work around that, but saying you have a grudge when, man, like I said, this whole thing is a headache. Like, I was pretty disappointed in all of this, to be honest with you. If this kept Escape the 8th City intact, the grudge makes sense. Because, yes, he would have a grudge. Saying that he has a grudge before becoming the Iron Fist, which wipes away the 8th City, to me just doesn't make a lot of sense at all. So, yeah, and, like, the series was going really good. Now, I'm not trying to say, like, I don't like what was going on. The story and everything, like, yeah, he was manipulating, like, he's the reason that the Iron Fist kept going on, because he was absorbing their chi and all that. Like, that's great, but just this page alone, like, flips all of the lore on its head. And even his story, it flips Quan Yaozu's story, like, wads it in a paper and kind of just throws part of it away. And I just don't, oh man, it just kind of gets me. So obviously this is his plan to overthrow the world for the Qilin. I don't know why he wants to overthrow the world. It would make sense that he would want to overthrow Kunlun, but not the world. I don't get that. Obviously the Randgate is in the building. I don't know why he just didn't go and attack them. Maybe that's just kind of what we're saving for Deadly Hands of Kunlun, which is what I kind of thought we would get out of this book towards the end. I don't know why the Qilin would want to overthrow the world. I don't know what they would gain out of that. Surely they're smart enough knowing that characters like Thor and Captain Marvel, powerful X-Men like Storm and Magneto and stuff, like all these powerhouse characters around that surely they can't defeat, you know. And they have to possess people, and like the mutants have telepaths like every other Tuesday join their team. Like, I don't know how you could beat that. Oh, and then they have magic, who could probably control all these demons from the 8th city, these Wraithlins, Cheelins, pretty easy. So that kind of just threw me off too. So let's get to some more confusion that happens before all of this. We see that there is a gateway to hell, the 8th city, summoned by Quan himself. Dark magic? Yes. I don't know how he's not studying dark magic at some point. Is this something he's learned in the year after Danny freed him? Conjuring portals to his home? I don't know. But if he learned it from the Cheelin after he escaped, maybe. But if he learned it beforehand, I mean, he's been down there for, I'm going to at least say 2,000 years maybe. It sounds like he could have just left any time he wanted. He did not need to escape, which takes the whole story of Escape the 8th City and the reason that gateway was built and throws it out the window. Because if the Cheelin could leave whenever they wanted, surely Quan could have left whenever he wanted. They could have took him. They could have taught him how to open this portal that we see him open right now. Any other demon probably in there could have got him out. So that to me, this makes no sense either. Like, I get if you had some context saying that he'll learn to open a gateway in the last year of continuity, but just him opening a gateway here with no context proves that he could have just left the 8th city whatever he wanted to. Like, what he did with Danny, unnecessary during that storyline. Wait. Let me back up. Let me go find this page with when we first see Tian Long and we're introduced to the name of the dragon. Hold up. Tian Long, the heavenly dragon who guards the gates of the 7 cities, who also keeps evil from escaping the 8th city. You and your Cheelin butchered her and cast away her spirit to cross into this realm. So, is Jason Lowe saying that he was still in the 8th city and escaped to kill this dragon? Because now that I think about it, we never met this dragon in the Escape the 8th city storyline. Surely that would be there. I mean, how would the immortal weapons never run into this dragon? Or did they kill the dragon leaving Kunlun? But then again, we've never met that dragon that way either. So, still that proves that somehow Quan Yaozu has a way to get between realms, which means that most likely he could have just left the 8th city whenever he wanted based on this issue. Oh man, I don't know. So, man, like I said, I like the idea of what was going on and why Quan was doing the things that he done, but just that one page where he explains everything, and then this gateway just takes so much of what happened at the end of Immortal Iron Fist and just makes it garbage. And that is considered, to me, and I will say, I'll go on record and say every Iron Fist fan, that is the Iron Fist series. Like, everybody's like, if you want Iron Fist, you go read Immortal Iron Fist. It is what you need to read. And just that one page, man, it just takes so much and throws it out the window because it contradicts everything that we learned about Quan in that book. And I hate that because I was so excited that Quan was showing up. But like I said, what he was trying to accomplish, his motive for wanting the Iron Fist, for stealing their chi and the Cheelin, like, I love all that. I think that's great. But I don't know if anything got confused or what, or maybe I'm just wrong and someone needs to tell me. But what I'm reading and understanding and what I know of Iron Fist and the Immortal Iron Fist and that storyline, which I just covered here like a month and a half ago on the podcast, which is pretty fresh in my mind. I read that series like once a year. That makes no sense at all. So, some loose ends before I wrap up the episode. So, not everyone who is possessed and attacked Danny in the first 2 issues were they. Did defeating Quan Yaozu free them because they are their dogs? We learned that he telepathically can talk to them. I thought that was cool. When possessed Luke is chasing Danny up the stairs, Quan telepathically talks to him. I thought that was cool. More dark magic, maybe? I mean, I'm just saying. There's a lot, man, like, they should have gave Jason at least 7 pages. Made this a 30-page issue. I feel there's more that could have been said and ironed a lot of this out more if that would have happened. And maybe I wouldn't complain and my voice wouldn't hurt right now. There's no mention of Lin Fong's invasion and occupation of Kunlun in this book. So my thing is, even if this takes place before everything in the 50th anniversary and Lin's story, which came out before then, it doesn't make sense that it happens after. Lin is actually in his Iron Fist gear at Danny's funeral in the Power Man book, Timeless, in the very beginning, issue 1. So no mention of that here by Quan. Surely he had to know. So Daredevil shows back up in this issue. He's looking up at the big fight going on. What trouble did you bring, Danny? We see Luke coming out of it a couple pages later. How did I get here? Danny has to stop. And then they see Danny's mask gone, and Luke's like, Danny? This might explain why Elektra is in deadly hands of Kunlun. Daredevil knows Danny really well. They have a good, rich history with each other. And based on what's going on, he might have Elektra follow up here and go check on what's going on. So now that would make perfect sense why she's there. So what about Luke? We see Luke fixing the grave, and his question is, where the hell are you, man? And I'm assuming this is like the next day. The little short guy here looks like he's wearing a rubber latex mask with the shovel, so it's probably nothing. I just gotta think that it is. So surely Misty's gonna find out about this. Miles is gonna say something, because this is a big ordeal. This is all gonna be put together. Surely her and Luke are going to dive into what happened with Rancourt. We'll probably find out what has happened. We know that Luke, Misty, they have to know about Quan. Surely Danny has told them about that. So that's the story that could happen. So how Luke ties into this, maybe that's how White Tiger gets involved. I could see that happening. They were on the Avengers team, the Mighty Avengers team during Infinity. If I'm right, yeah, I think that's the team that they're together on. So that might be why White Tiger shows up. So let's go ahead and talk about that. Like I said, I think it's cool that Danny keeps the arm at the end of this book. I wish that they would have not revealed him on the cover of Deadly Hands of Kunlun #1. Because that would lead us to believe that he's not coming out of the underworld just yet at the end of this book. Well, we got this variant cover. That's where I'm naming Elektra and White Tiger from. Really, really great cover by Adam Kubert. Note on the bottom says final cover may vary, so who knows. So we've got Lynn, we got Danny coming back as Undead Ghost Fist. I guess we should start saying Ghost Fist. We've got Pei. Well, we have White Fox, who we know has ties to Lin Lee hardcore. We have White Tiger, Ava, Aliyah, who I just mentioned with Luke Cage. We know that the amulets are tied to Kunlun. A lot of us are kind of hoping that she might become the next Tiger's beautiful daughter, because she died in Heart of the Dragon by Larry Hama years ago. A couple years ago, I shouldn't say years ago. But I can see where they would tie her to that part of the Heavenly Cities. I hope that happens. I know those White Tiger fans don't want that, but I think that would give her something to do and maybe keep her grouped up with these people, because I kind of feel that's where she belongs. I just mentioned how Elektra fits in. I could see where Matt would be like, hey, you need to investigate this. So that makes sense why she would show up. Karnak, no clue. Man, I kind of scoured over just trying to find any way that Karnak has met Iron Fist at all, and I couldn't find anything. I'm not going to say that I look extensively, but just kind of lining up issues, I really didn't see anything that caught my attention. But this should have been Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi has ties to Danny. A lot. That's this whole podcast, if you haven't noticed. And he helped train Lin Lee. He's also worked with Lin and White Fox on the Agents of Atlas. Should have been Shang-Chi. I think that's a huge missed opportunity there. Like, I get Karnak is a martial artist, and he's not really, I would say, well, he's a fighter, but what makes him a good fighter is his Terrigen Mist, powers of, finding the weak point in everything. I still don't get it. Now, in the background, to me, at first, I thought that was Shatterstar. Clearly, I'm going to assume that's Lin Fong. Just given the hair color, maybe, by what we're seeing. I could be wrong. In the eyes, and all the red energy we see at the end of Volume 6 and the Judgment Day Iron Fist tie-in issue. I'm assuming that's him, so pretty excited about that. Overall, I don't hate this. I'm very indifferent about it. Like I said, I love what was built with Quan and the reasons for the Iron Fist continuing, but that one page muddles up so much of what we know of Quan that it makes no sense, and it absolutely drives me nuts. And it's there. I mean, but I say that, and if you go listen to the Quan episode, I talk about, like, are these lies? Are both his stories lies? Which, Shu Ho, like, he fought him and he brought it up, but his Quan story from Immortal Iron Fist is completely different. So, if you want to go that route that he's lied in Immortal Iron Fist and Shu Ho lies in Volume 5 of Iron Fist, then this does make sense. But it's hard to ignore those things because Immortal Iron Fist, we're looking almost 20 years now since that series started. That was the end of the series, so it was 2009. So by the time, might as well say 2026, so you're saying 17 years ago, almost 10 years ago for Volume 5. So it's hard to ignore those things. It's been rooted in Iron Fist fans' minds, and this just kind of muddles it up. And clearly, this is the longest episode in a long time that I've done by myself without a guest, and my voice hurts. My sick kids are wanting my attention, which they're getting over it. My wife needs my attention, and I gotta edit this. So, that'll wrap up 2025 for the Daily Podcast of Kung Fu. Happy New Year. Do your best in 2026. Be a good person. Just be a good person. At some point, it's going to pay off. I mean, the world is too cruel for you not to show a little kindness. For 2026, look out for a California Cannibal. I've got my cover artist working on my cover. I've got my interior artist working on pages. I'm hoping maybe I'll be able to start that in March. But if you follow the podcast, you follow my personal pages, you'll get that. But most importantly, guys, in 2026, support your local comic book shops. Pre-order that Deadly Hands of Kung Lun if you have it from them. And keep reading comics, guys.